Hello, my friends. My name is Thad Riley, and this is episode 234 on the Thadcast. I used to say the episode in Spanish, but now I'd have to look it up because I have no clue what 234 would be. Let's not even try it and waste our time doing it. Today's episode, though, I'm excited to share with you, is called Give Me Your Sandal and Your Strongholds. Give me your sandal and your strongholds. So if you're wondering about the sandal thing, it kind of comes into context with the story of Ruth. That's where it comes from, actually. And we talked about Ruth yesterday a little bit on the podcast. I've been reading through that in my devotional. And there's this moment where Boaz is performing a transaction with another family member. And this family member is agreed to it, and everything's about to happen. And there's going to be an agreement between them that Boaz would take accountability for this land and for marrying Ruth, okay? So two things that Boaz is going to do. He's going to take the land, and he is agreeing to marry and care for Ruth, which is exactly what Boaz wants to do. Boaz is like, absolutely, can't wait to marry her. Fantastic, let's do this thing. So here's what I found fascinating, and I'll read it from Ruth chapter 4, verse 7. Now in those days, it was the custom in Israel for anyone transferring the right of purchase to remove his sandal and hand it to the other party. This publicly validated the transaction. What was phenomenal to me is they're actually handing somebody a sandal, handing them a sandal to validate this moment, to validate this transaction. I mean, how original, cool, different, unique, whatever you want to say. How good is that? By the way, if you're on YouTube, yes, I'm wearing my God Loves You shirt. Woohoo! It's an older shirt, but it's okay. So anyway, this is what I find so interesting is we have cultures all over the world today that do things so differently. Like we have 7 steps of security, by the way. We do. We have 7 steps of security in so many different, painful, agonizing ways. Like one of the investment accounts that I want to get into, like every time I want to get into it and look at anything, it has taken them years to make it a simplified process where you can use your thumbprint and an iPhone and it'll work together. They've had the worst, most intensive security for and I know it's money, and I know people freak out all the time about it. It's insured. We'll figure it out. And I know I haven't had major losses, so I don't want to go down this rabbit trail. All I'm telling you is that just because we do something in our culture and we cling to it, doesn't mean that it makes sense, doesn't mean that it's better than anyone else. If you ask me, I would much rather than sign a bunch of papers, walk into a bank and hand them my flip-flop and say, here you go. And then there's a group of people around and they've got the sandal and they're like, yeah, it works. They've got the sandal, so it's a transaction. So there's witnesses and the sandal, and it works out. And that's how they did it, kind of as a different thing in a community. But not us. No, we have our strongholds. We have our things that we just cannot give up. You know, it's almost the 4th of July. I love America. I love America so much. I love our freedom. I love how this country was founded. I love the stories of courage, of the fight for freedom, the whole deal. You know, there's parts I don't love about it too, don't get me wrong. But there are parts that are so incredibly heroic and amazing to learn about. It really is. How this country came together is amazing. How it's still coming together is amazing. And I'm so optimistic because Jesus is in all of it. I'm telling you right now, he's everywhere, and God's plans are amazing. But we have these strongholds that we just won't let go. For instance, there are many followers of Jesus that believe that you can't follow Jesus and be a Democrat. I'm serious. People would question someone's faith if they chose to vote for a certain candidate. People would question someone's morals if they chose to support Black Lives Matter. I'm being honest. I'm being honest about this. This is the truth that's out there. We have these strongholds, even of nationalism. And I know this is a big topic, and I don't go the direction of some people with this. I believe that we should have a lot of excitement about our country. We should be very, 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 very grateful every day for the freedoms that we have. And the technology and the whole place. It's so good. I love America. But we need to be careful because we need to be humble stewards of our lives. We are a reflection of God, not a reflection of patriotism or of the Republican Party. We are a humble reflection of Jesus, who sacrificed himself for all of mankind, anyone, that if anyone would come to him, he would give them eternal life and freedom. That's what this is all about, right? That's where our big passion should be about what's called the gospel, the good news of Jesus. But we cling to these strongholds. For me, they started with my folks, right? I mean, it was just the way that we did things. We were big Ronald Reagan fans. We were always Republicans. My mama watches Fox News, and she should. That's her choice. It's freedom. It's America, right? She should be able to watch that and interpret life on her terms, and she is just the best. So there you go with Mom. I just want to encourage all of us that these strongholds, these things that hold sway over us, just because we've been doing them for so long, doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean that it's the best way. Doesn't mean that it's better than anyone else's way. In fact, I would encourage you, my friends, to live in the freedom of this grace and knowledge that we can grow more, that we can learn more, that we can be part of a better story. And being part of a better story is this creativity, this thing where new information is coming to us and we're learning about how other people live their lives. And it's this whole humility that we need to be a part of a better story. If we keep saying that we're right, if we keep trying to be justified in our opinions, where does that leave everybody else? Where does it leave the people who oppose us, the people who are different than us? On the outside? Are they less? Are they just not as enlightened? Are they not as good? I know that we live in this world where we feel like we are on the top of the food chain. And technology has had a lot to do with that. But I don't know. I don't know that it is so much better that we sign papers rather than handing somebody a sandal. And I don't know if we have to be who we've always been to follow Jesus, if we have to do the things we've always done to follow Jesus. And I think COVID-19 and this pandemic thing has given us an out, a big, huge, massive out. It's changed the story so much. We don't have to go back to things the way they were. If you're a sports fan and you've struggled in your marriage and sports have been more important to you, then maybe you just don't go back when everything resumes. Or maybe you say, you know what? I know that all I've done is watch baseball every year. Why don't you and I become, let's go play pickleball. Let's become pickleball fans together, honey, and go play pickleball at the Y. Find something you can do to replace these things that have locked you in for so long. It's like, for me, I've struggled with my weight for most of my life, for a good chunk of my life. I had a great day yesterday, by the way. I started a new thing. I'm doing an ID Life program called the 30-Day Burn. I'm telling you, day one, I lost 4.6 pounds. Don't tell anybody. I don't want to get into that. But it's a good start, right? I love that. I'm on a great track, and I have something different and unique that I'm doing. But for me, there's been certain things that I've struggled with my weight. So what do I do, right? I break through some of those strongholds and try new things. Try different approaches. Don't just be stuck doing the same thing repetitively again and again and again, and it doesn't bring you any joy. It doesn't get you any real results. It just leaves you where? Where you've always been. Listen, I'm 48 years old. I barely started my life. I have a long way to go. I want to grow. I want to run faster. I want to run further. I want to love more people. I want to write another book. I want to have this podcast do its thing. I want this podcast. This is so important to me. I want this podcast to become a light to our world today. And so, like with the podcast, this is a great example. You know, the podcast had a steady set of growth for a little while, and did a lot of work to get to a point where, okay, we went back and forth on a lot of different ideas the first couple of years, and finally just got it nailed down. And as I was in a flow, the numbers went from here and tanked straight down. So all of a sudden, everything that I had been doing had to be questioned. I had to ask questions and make major decisions because of the numbers tanking. And I'm not saying they just tanked. They went straight down. Like all of a sudden, nobody was listening to the Thadcast. Bad stuff. So I revamped. I redid the whole entire thing. Started over, planned, organized, reset, and here we are. We're doing this every single day now. We do it every day. The episodes are a little bit shorter. It's a little bit of a different vibe than it was before. And there's no big cheesy intro. There's none of this stuff. We just go after it every day. More of a devotional type of format. We've dropped some of the other subjects, so I had to change everything up, even though I didn't want to, and then now we're on YouTube. Do I want to do extra work? No, but I'm grateful because giving me the opportunity to passionately pursue what I love. But some of those strongholds, some of those things that I didn't want to change, had to absolutely change. I have to get up at the crack of dawn and get this thing done before life starts. So like yesterday when I teach cycle at 7 o'clock in the morning and I have to leave here at 6:15, I'm up before that having fully recorded and published my episodes, and it's all done before I leave here at 6:15. So I'm getting up in the fours, somewhere around 4:30, 4:45 to pull that off. Anyway, we have these strongholds, these things that have maybe even controlled and manipulated our life. Maybe it's what time we wake up, what time we go to sleep. Maybe it's what we watch on TV, what we do in our free time. Maybe running for me. Both of my knees are out right now. When I say they're out, there's no real injury there. They just will not allow me to run. They're in massive pain when I start running. So I can't run. So God takes these moments when we are willing to change and to move away from the things that have held us in, not our faith in Jesus, not the gospel of Jesus, but God will give us strength and courage to move away from the things that we've clung to, this life that we've said is so good. And if we step forward in faith and we do it to honor Him and to fulfill our life's purpose in Him, and we go to do a good thing to make a positive impact on the world, God is with us the whole time. He's with us the whole time, and He will make things happen in His way, in His time. He may use a pandemic, by the way. He may use a pandemic. His ways, as the Bible says, His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. They're not. We don't know why, but we do know. Well, we do know why. We do know it's all to bring glory and honor to God. We do know that. That is a good why right there. I want to encourage you today, my friends, to take a step back and ask yourself about the strongholds. What are these things that you do that are almost like a belief system to you? That are almost like a regimen to you? That maybe have some level of control over your life or over your emotions? That you will get extremely anxious if somebody goes after it and it's not the gospel of Jesus? What are those things that you and I may need to say, it's time to break free, it's time to do a new thing, it's time to go a different direction, and by God's grace, I'm going to make that happen today? Is it time to hand somebody a sandal? I know, it's weird stuff. It's weird. It's different. But God didn't call us to live a boring, mundane life where we do everything the same all the time. So that's my encouragement to you today, my friends, to find your courage, to first of all, maybe to think, to be introspective and ask yourself, what are these strongholds that are not the gospel of Jesus that control my life? What are these belief systems that are not the gospel of Jesus that I've bought into 100%? What are they? And what do I need to do a new thing, to release some of these strongholds? Well, what does that look like? Who am I going to become? I don't know. But by God's grace, you'll be a follower of Jesus, in love with him, and he will bless you. I believe that. I believe when we let these things go and we move forward in his light and grace, that is exactly what he does. It's called faith. It's called faith. I don't believe that we're doing things the right way in America in many avenues. I believe our culture is out of whack with itself and with each other. And this pandemic has exposed that. I think it takes courage, new leaders, and people who have vision and will say, doing things the way we've always done them just doesn't make sense. Let's be better. Let's be more. Let's be more loving, more unified, more kind, more deliberate, more thoughtful, more productive. Let's do it all. Now's the time. Now's the time. No better time for a change. So anyway, that's it. That's it for episode 234 of the Thadcast. And as always, if you would share this with a friend of yours today or on social media, I would so appreciate it. Make sure that you've subscribed, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, don't know why it was hard to say iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever format you're listening to, or on YouTube. And yeah, so that's it. And thank you so much for joining me here today. And until next time, may you be blessed.